Hello everybody, welcome and thank you for joining me again. It's a beautiful day here today in East Lothian. I'm looking rather rosy tonight. I maybe had a little bit too much sun, but you got to take it while you can, especially up here. We don't see it that often. Anyway, I'm so excited to be making lavender with you tonight. So the stems of lavender made from felt fabric, they're very sweet looking and they're quite realistic, and I think that using the different shades of lilac and purple just really helps to give a little bit of realism to these. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to switch to the overhead view in a second, and we'll go through everything that you need to have to make these stems of lavender. Make sure you've got all your bits and pieces. If you haven't switched your glue gun on yet, now's the time to do it. So your glue gun takes 5 to 10 minutes to get up to full temperature. So switch your glue gun on just now. And it's going to be nice and relaxed. I'll try not to go too quickly. And, you know, we'll have a break to answer questions. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments below. I know that Rebecca's here to help out with any questions, but also I'll look up from time to time and see if I can answer any questions as we go along. Okay, are we ready? So we're going to just swap over to this view here, get rid of that mouse, and let's move all the bits and pieces along here, and let's just go through everything that you're going to need to make your lavender stems. So you're going to need, or you've probably already used, your template. So your template pieces are rectangles, and the reason why they're rectangles and squares, if you haven't done this before, is because we then freehand cut the shapes of the petals and the leaves from the squares of felt that you cut out. So they're not really templates as such, but I actually couldn't think of another word to use. But anyway, that's why they're rectangles and squares. So hopefully you've done your preparation and you've got your squares of felt cut out already. So we won't need this anymore. So we'll move that to one side. You will need your felt, of course. So shades of lilac and purple are great, and I really like this kind of sort of raspberry colour as well. And there is a kind of lavender that you can get. I can't remember the name of it actually. If anybody remembers, pop it in the comments. Because this is gorgeous. Maybe it's French. No, maybe French lavender is a kind of traditional one. But this one here, I love it, and it's kind of fluffy looking as well. It's got those little feathery bits on the top there. So shades of lilac and purple, and then there's a couple of different shades of green as well for your leaves. And it's not because lavender has different shades of green in the leaves, it's just I think it looks nice when you use more than one colour. And actually lavender, the stem and the leaves are a kind of silvery greeny grey colour. So they're not exactly like this, but you know, a bit of artistic license. So all of your felt, but it won't look like this if you've done your preparation. It will look like this. So you'll have some bits and pieces already cut, ready. And I've seen in the Facebook group lots of stacks, lovely stacks of felt all piled up ready. So I can tell you're raring to go with this, which is brilliant. You will also need, so you've got your different colours of felt there, your green and your purple. You will need your floristry stems. So tonight I'm going to make one stem of lavender, and the reason why I'm only going to make one is because each one has 7 flowers on it, and that'll take most of this workshop. But once you know how to make one, you can make as many as you like, of course. But your floristry stem wire is slightly thicker, heavier gauge. So this is an 18 gauge, and it just makes it nice and stiff. So with gauges for wire, the smaller the number, the thicker and stronger the wire. So then 18 gauge is slightly thicker and stronger than a 22 gauge, for example. So we're going to be using this 18 gauge, and I'm just going to need one piece of that. So we tape them together for you for sending out the packs, and they're very well taped. So I'll just take a piece off here. There we go. You will also need, although it's not absolutely essential, but it does look nice, so some floristry tape. And this is waxed tape. It is it looks like 10 millimeters wide actually, but I think this may be listed as 8. I'm going to check for you just in case you want to purchase some of this. In fact, we have it online. But yeah, it's 10 millimeters wide. And floristry tape comes in different shades of green, and we also have a brown one online. And I think for the lavender, it's nice to use the green one, but you can also use brown, doesn't matter. It's for the stem. If you don't have floristry tape, it doesn't matter because the tape isn't holding anything together. Everything is glued on, and the tape just makes the stem look a bit more realistic. So there's your floristry tape, and I'll say a little bit more about this later when we come to use it. You will also need your glue gun, of course, already switched on. Always good to have an extra glue stick, and I'm going to probably be needing to use that tonight. You may want to use bigger scissors tonight for cutting out the leaf shapes, or you may have already used these for cutting out your rectangles and your squares. I was just going to show you actually, but I might have put it to one side. No, this. If you're making a lot of felt flowers, it's quite a good idea to get yourself a roller cutter, and of course you need the mat, the self-healing mat to go with it. And people who have used these will tell you it is a complete game changer because you can cut through several layers of felt at once. It just speeds everything up, and it makes everything nice and even as well. So these are readily available on Amazon. So roller cutter and a self-healing mat for cutting. It's not essential, but it's quite a good thing to have. What else? Your little scissors. So I've got these little stork scissors here, and I just want to show you if you can see if that focuses. No, there we go. On the tips, near the tips of the scissors, if you can see a little orange dot that I've made. And I've done it on both sides of the blade, so it's not really liking to focus on this because it's so tiny. So I've made a little dot on each side of the blades, so it doesn't matter which way I pick the scissors up, and I'll explain in a little while what that little dot is for. It's a little aid to cutting. So your scissors, and that's it. That's all the bits and pieces you need. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to cover the stem wire in the floristry tape. So that's right, we're going to cover the whole wire with the tape before we actually make any of the flowers. Now the floristry tape is like the stickiest thing known to man, I'm sure you'll find, but it doesn't have any glue on it. What it's got on it is a wax, and it's not, you know, it is kind of sticky, but it's the wax. Now what you'll find is sometimes the end of the tape can feel a little bit dried out, and that being the case, just what to do is just to tear when it starts feeling like it's gripping the reel a little bit better. Just tear that bit off and get rid of it so that you're starting with a bit that's a little bit stickier. Now, if you're using floristry tape and you're finding that it's not sticking very well, it's something to do is just to kind of warm it up in your hands a little bit, because it is wax and that'll melt and become stickier when you warm it a bit. So you're going to begin by wrapping this whole stem with the tape, and you might want to begin by putting a little bit of glue on the end there just to get it started. So just the usual warning about the glue and the glue gun. Let's move this paper over. It's obviously very hot, and molten glue is very hot as well, so just please be careful of your fingers. And we're going to wrap Just going to fold that over. Just pinch it together at the top. And I'm going to wrap, I want it to come down at an angle so that you're not just wrapping the tape over and over on itself. So you want it to kind of come down at an angle. So I'm just holding the tape and I'm spinning the stem, and each time I turn, I'm giving it a little squeeze just to squeeze it into place. Doesn't matter if it looks a little bit uneven, because nothing in nature is perfectly straight and symmetrical. So just keep spinning it round. I'm going to take it from the top now. Give it a little squeeze each time. You can, if there's any little lumpy, bumpy bits, you can just give them a little squeeze in. And keep spinning it round all the way down to the bottom. Now, if you're doing this, you find that you're gripping it a little bit too enthusiastically and it tears, it doesn't matter. You can just take another piece and just squeeze it on top and it'll stick, and you can just keep going. So all the way down to the bottom. When you get to the end, you can either cut it or it's easily torn, and you can just rip it off and then just squeeze the ends in together. And you should be able to just squeeze the end in quite neatly without adding any more glue. So the glue is just quite useful to have just to get it started at the top there. There we are, and that looks okay. It's a nice idea to have like a wet flannel or some baby wipes, something like that, on your desk, on your work desk, so that you can just kind of wipe your hands and get that stickiness off your hands. There we are. You will find that once you've wrapped your stem and you've made your lavender, after a few days, the stems don't feel sticky anymore. It kind of dries out a little bit. So it's just initially that floristry stem is the tape is quite sticky. So there we go. Now we're going to start off by making the leaves. So you've got, for each stem of lavender, you've got 2 large leaves and 2 smaller ones. And I've just chosen to use both colours of green. So I've got 1 light green and 1 dark green for each one, for large and small. And what you're aiming to make are shapes like this. So if we do the little ones first of all, and then we'll do the bigger ones, which are a little bit more tricky, but they're not difficult. And I'm going to use the small scissors for the small leaves. So we want to just turn this into a leaf shape. So we hold it so that the corners are top and bottom, rather than holding it like a square. So turn it round so that it's like more like a diamond. And what you're going to do is you're just going to, with a curved motion, you're going to just cut off the opposite corners. So that one, and then flip it over and cut the other side. So you notice that I'm not cutting from the bottom corner. I'm just taking off this corner on the edge here. And it's easier, I find, to move the felt than to move the scissors. So just keep your scissors in the same place and just move the felt round. And then if you've got a little bit, if it doesn't look quite smooth to you, and there's a little bit sort of couple of angles there, you can always take your scissors and just trim them away just to neaten it up. But because you're going to make them a bit more wrinkly looking anyway, you probably wouldn't see those. It doesn't need to look perfect at all. So there's one. So again, with the other one. So holding it with the 2 corners, top and bottom, and then you're coming in at the side and you're moving the felt rather than the scissors. So you're just cutting round and then flip it over. And then the other side. So I'm coming in, it's about halfway along the edge here. I'm placing my scissors and I'm just moving the felt like that. So there's my 2 leaf shapes. to try and be tidy this week and just get rid of all my bits and pieces as I go along. And I have got a bin down there. It's not going straight onto the floor. Now with the longer leaves, they're a little bit more tricky because what you're going to do is you're going to fold these in half, and you want to create a leaf shape. So if I show you, you want to create a leaf shape that has a flat edge along the bottom for wrapping around the stem and a point at the top. So we do that by folding the long piece in half lengthways. And then I'm going to use my bigger scissors this time. And I'm going to go in about halfway along the bottom with the scissors. And once the scissors have got hold of the felt, I can kind of let go, and then I'm just going to cut up and right round and right into the middle at the top and snip. So when I open that up, I have a leaf shape that's flat along the bottom and pointed at the top. So do another one. So we've got your long piece, fold it in half lengthways, give it a good kind of press down with your fingers, and then take your scissors, your larger scissors. You can easily do this with the smaller scissors. I just find it a little bit easier to do with the larger ones. Get the scissors in about halfway along the bottom, and once they're in there and they've got a grip of the felt, then you can start cutting up. And if it comes off at the side, it doesn't matter, just go right round and up to the point at the top. And I've got a little bit of a pointy bit at the side there, so I'll just take these little scissors and just snip that away. So there we have our leaves, but they don't look quite right yet. They look a little bit flat. And this is really one of the things that makes the felt flowers look so realistic, is when you give them a little bit of texture. And the way we do that is by literally being a little bit rough with them and sort of wringing them out, as it were. So if you just take a leaf, we'll do the long ones first of all, and I'm holding it quite firmly with my left hand, and I'm just going to start twisting and twisting all the way along to the end, and give it a little roll. And then I'm not going to open it out. I'm going to pop it down and just leave it like that, and it'll unfurl itself. But I don't want to help it along just now. I want to just leave it like that. So we'll do the same with the next one. Doesn't matter which end you've got, if you're holding the pointed end or the flat end. So I'm just going to hold it in my left hand, or your right hand if you're left-handed, and just give it a good twist. And then I'll roll it, and then just pop it to the side. And then do exactly the same with the little ones as well. So just twist them up and give them a little roll like that. And the same with this one. Okay. There we are. So too large and too small. Pop those to one side. We don't need those. And we're going to now make some lavender flowers. So this is really when your little scissors are going to come in useful and essential. You can do it with larger scissors, but it's not nearly as easy. So it's really good to have a pair of small sharp scissors. If you have the curved scissors, little curved embroidery scissors, they are brilliant to use. And I'm going to tell you the only reason I'm not using mine tonight, wonder if you can hear this. Oh, they've stopped doing it now. They were cheeping like a bird earlier, and I got Harry to put some WD-40 on them, but he said it's the blades rubbing together. I mean, they're really brilliant scissors, but they were just, every time I cut with them, they were making a little bird sound. So I thought that might just be a little bit annoying. So we're using historic ones instead. Now, with your lavender stem, we just have a look at these. There are only 2 on here which have used the same colour all the way through. Now, it's absolutely up to you which colours you want to use and how you want to vary them. So this one is all one colour, and so is the pinky raspberry one at the back there. But on this one, I've added in one little flower of the marled heather, and then this one's got a couple of different shades, and so is this one. And I think it looks really nice when you do that and you add in a couple of different colours. You will need round about 7 flowers for each stem. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that one's got 8. That one's only got 6. So it's roughly 7 per stem. And I've got my squares looked out ready here. And I've also, the Blue Peter moment, I've also got some prepared and cut. Just because, you know. So I'm going to just carry on, and I'm going to cut some of these out, and I'll just, you know, this will give you plenty of time to do this yourself. I'll try and go slowly. It's a little bit fiddly. Okay, so what you're going to do to make one flower, you're going to take one of your squares and you're going to turn it into a circle. And the way you turn it into a circle is just in the same way that you made the small leaves. You're going to cut the corner of each of the squares. So you just pop your scissors in and move the felt rather than the scissors. So keep turning it. And the last one. So you're aiming for something that is roughly circular. It doesn't matter if it's not perfect. Not quite so good if it's like an oblong shape. Roughly circular is good. So there's one. And let's just do the others as well. So this time I'm going in about 2/3 of the way up one side, and I'm just curving the felt round. And then just turning. You can see how I'm moving the felt rather than the scissors. And then the last one. Let's give that wee trim. It's fine. So the colour shades that I'm using on this one, this purple one that's in my hand, is called Helio. And the marled one, which is sort of, they call them vintage shades, which is, they're just absolutely gorgeous, the marled colours. This one is marled heather. 1, 2, 3, 4. I won't need all of these because I've already got some of the flowers cut out, but I'll just carry on just to give you a chance to keep up. It's the last one. There we are. And then one more. 4 corners. 1, 2, 3, and the last one. There we are. So how are we all doing? Karina, if this is like the stars, I am giving up now. Karina, didn't don't give up. Don't give up. It'll be fine. You just need to practice. It is a little bit like the stars, because what you're going to be doing is making these kind of feathery petals. And yeah, it's the same principle, but practice makes perfect. So just keep making them. Just keep making them. Okay. Everybody else okay, and everybody else keeping up? Right. Next step is we are going to turn the circles into little flowers like this. It's not as tricky as it looks. It just takes a little bit of practice, and it honestly, it doesn't matter if they don't look perfect. So this is how we do it. Let's get rid of this first of all. There we go. Take one of your circles and fold it in half. And this is where your little sharp scissors with your little mark on them comes in handy. So what I've done, and it's actually, I need to do it with a Sharpie, a black Sharpie, so that it shows up better. But I've made a little mark on the blades of the scissors. It's about 5 millimeters in from the tip of the scissors. And what that does is it helps me to make sure that I'm cutting in the same place each time. So all my cuts are the same length, and I'm not ending up with chopping a great big slice out of something and then cutting the whole thing in half by mistake. So got your circle folded in half, and you're going to go in with your scissors and you're going to cut a little slit on one side and then flip it over in the same size roughly of slit on the other side. Keep it folded, and now you're going to turn so that the curved edge is facing you, and you're going to go in with your scissors and you're going to make the same size of slit halfway, like that. And then into each remaining half, you're going to make 2 more slits. So you just need to judge roughly. I'm going to make one here and one there. And then the same on this side. One here, and keep hold of your semicircle or your folded felt all the time, and one there. And while you've still got this folded, flip it over, and what you're going to do with just the very tips of the scissors, just nick a tiny hole. So I'm just snipping into the folded edge so that when you open out your felt, you've got this hole in the middle. And that hole is for, there you go, you can see it now. The hole is for threading the floristry stem through. Okay, so there's one. So let's do another one. We'll get to the really tricky bit in a second, Karina. Okay, we'll just do this bit first of all. So take your circle of felt, fold it in half, your sharp scissors, and you go in one fold and the other side, and then turn so the curved edge is facing you, and you're going to go halfway, and then 2 into that side and 2 into that side. And then while it's still folded, with the tips of the scissors, a little snip in there for the stem to go through. So there's another 2. So it's a little bit like muscle memory doing this, and you really do find that you can get quicker and more accurate the more you do. Honestly, by the time you've made a couple of stems of lavender, you'll be expert at it. I promise. Then turn it round and make that little slit. If you forget to make the hole in the middle, it doesn't matter, because you'll soon find when you go to thread your flower onto the stem that you haven't made the hole, so you can just do it again. So how many cuts in the circle? So let's do it again. Okay, Lots of chances, lots of opportunities to do this. So fold it in half. So how many cuts? You've got one on that side and one on that side, so that's 2. And then one halfway, so that's 3. And then another 2 here, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then your little cut in the middle. So of course it's 7, but that's 7 into a folded circle. So when you open it out, obviously you've got more than that because you've been cutting through 2 layers. Let's do another 2. Can you really hear the birds? They are making a real noise tonight. The birds have been making a lovely song today. All day I've been listening to them. I can't believe you can hear that. The windows just open a crack. You might be able to hear the Jessie, our village clock chiming as well. Sounds very romantic, doesn't it? It is romantic, actually. What a lovely place we live in. Okay. 1, 2. I wish I was enough of a bird expert to know what bird that is. It's maybe a blackbird. They've got a really beautiful song, haven't they? If anybody can identify the bird by the bird song, please put a comment in the comments. There's tonight's challenge. One more. It's a blackbird. Kathleen, yes, I think you're right. They just have a lovely, lovely song. We have a thrush, actually, has been coming into our garden as well lately, which is it's quite rare, actually, to see a thrush. They're quite tame. So one on either side, one halfway, 2 in that quarter and 2 in this quarter. Oh, Melanie, I have one in my garden that sounds like an alarm clock. It beeps all day. I love that. It's lesser spotted lavender cutter. Yes, no, that would be these scissors. These they've stopped doing it now. They were making such a noise earlier that I can't possibly use those. Little snip in there. There we go. Right. Now, we need to turn these into these. It is a little bit tricky, but if you've got the sharp scissors, they're small sharp scissors, they will really be your friend for this. So what you're going to do is you're going to go around the circle. So I suppose it depends whether you're left or right-handed. Melanie's asking the benefit of the curved scissors. The benefit of the curved scissors is literally because they're slightly curved. So it's just allowing you to do a little bit less work because they're already curving round. They're just a little bit easier, and they're also, these particular ones are really sharp with lovely sharp tips as well. So that's the benefit. They're actually embroidery cross stitch scissors for snipping your threads without snipping the fabric. So you can get quite close into your fabric and snip the thread away. Yeah, that's the advantage of using them, but I'm just using these, which are absolutely fine as well. So yeah, it depends. I think this depends. Let's move these so you can see. Depends if you're left or right-handed, but I'm going to go around this circle anti-clockwise, and I'm going to cut the corner, the right-hand corner of each little section. So that's a little section there. I'm going to cut the right-hand corner off each one, and then I'm going to flip this over and go back round the other way. So you just want to get your scissors in and just snip If you can make a slightly curved shape, that would be better than just snipping kind of straight up. So you're not aiming to make a star shape. You are aiming to make something that is a little bit more rounded, because they are they're quite, you know, lavender's quite soft looking. Don't know if you would call these petals really, but that's the easiest way to describe them. So there you go. I've got all the way round to the start. And now I'm just going to flip it over and do the same again. So this time you're cutting the other side. And it might come up in a little bit of a point, but that's okay. So all the way around until you get back to the beginning again. So there's the first one. We'll do a few more. Birds have gone quiet. Oh no, there they are. I was sitting outside today and watching. We've got some blue tits in the garden just now, and they kept got an old apple tree at the top of the garden, and I was watching them. There were two of them and they kept disappearing, and after a while I realized that, and I hadn't realized this before, but the trunk of the apple tree, the main trunk, is actually hollow, and the blue tits were going right inside, and I think they might be building a nest. They kept kind of popping in and out and disappearing and coming back again, so that's exciting. As you know, we also have 3 cats, so you need to keep an eye on them. One in particular is quite partial to a bird supper. He likes to eat in the middle of the lawn as well. It's quite distressing. There we go. So it kind of creates like I don't know, like a bit of a windmill, you know, and then flip it over towards you, and then you're cutting the other corner. So I hope you're all getting on okay with this. And there we are. So I'm going to tell you something that might be a little bit off-putting. Now I've started telling you I need to continue. I can't backtrack. But this is something that my mum told me, and she said that she'd learned this from her dad, my grandpa, we were working out the other day, my grandpa would be about 115 now if he was still alive. So he left us quite a long time ago. But if your scissors are squeaking or cheeping or chirping, as mine were earlier, the way to stop that happening is to oil them in here with a little bit of grease off the side of your nose. So you just rub your finger on the side of your nose and rub your finger on your scissors, just where the blades join, and it completely oils them, and it does actually work. So you're welcome. I didn't know quite what to make of that, but she said that her dad had told her that when she was a little girl. The best thing for oiling your scissors is nose grease. So there you go. Little pile of lavender snippings. I wonder what we could do with those. And I'm going to do these 2 as well, and hopefully this is giving you enough time to make all of yours as well. If not, you know that you can re-watch this. So this is obviously it's live on Facebook just now, but it's also going to be on, and it's live on YouTube as well. So it will live permanently on Facebook and on YouTube as well. So you can watch it back and pause and rewind and what have you. So one, and then flip it over the other side. So my glue gun's been on for a while, actually. I'm always a little bit paranoid that I forget to switch it on. And then I go to use it in one of these workshops and find that it's not been switched on. So it's been on for ages. So it's nice and hot. And guess what I did last week? I left the glue gun on overnight after our workshop, which wasn't very smart. So make sure that you turn your glue gun off afterwards. So I'm on my last one now. So you could use, I'm just looking at this. I tend to use the blades of the scissors a little bit further in rather than using the tips. I find it easier to get that curve in the felt by using the scissors a little bit nearer the handles. Now, this method of making these sort of multi-petaled flowers, you could apply to lots of different kinds of flowers. I'm thinking of things like cornflowers that have got lots and lots of little petals on them. So it's just the same principle. Okay, so now I have more than I need. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've got 10. That's okay. Give me a couple of extra for another stem of lavender. Get rid of those bits. Okay. I think we're ready to start attaching the lavender to the stem. So what we do, first of all, if you've got different colours there, just kind of organise them so that they go on in order. So I'm going to put on 2 of the helio and then 1 of the marled heather and then another 2, in fact 3, so that it's not too uniform looking. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then another 1 of those at the bottom. So I'm going to do it that way. And we start off, I'm going to take this slightly thinner end as the top of mine. And for the petal at the top, I'm just going to thread this straight onto the top of the stem. And then I'm going to add some glue around the middle. So just actually for the top one, before you add the glue on, just bring it up to the top of the stem so that, and just give it a little squeeze closed so that you know that when you close it, the top of the wire is going to be hidden. So you don't want to be gluing it down here, for example, and then moving up and smearing glue up the stem. So make sure that you start it probably around 1 centimetre from the top of the stem. So glue all the way around. You can be quite generous with the glue. Just keep it in the middle around the stem there. And then you're going to just gather up all of the felt and squash it all in together and keep it held in place with your fingers while the glue dries, and just watch your fingers. Heather says she's only cut 4 flowers. Well, Heather, I think you're doing really well. And if you've only cut 4, you can skip cutting the others and you can go on to this step. So if you haven't cut all 6 or 7, however many you want to use, you can absolutely do this step now and you can cut the rest of them afterwards. So don't worry about trying to get them all cut before you start attaching them. So you'll be able to kind of tease out the petals once your glue has dried, because you're not gluing the whole thing, you're just kind of gluing around the base of it to the stem. And a little, can you see a little bit of glue has come out of the bottom there. So I'm just going to, because I'm particular, I'm just going to use the scissors just to snip that off. So there's the first one. So you put your first one on at the top, and then the rest of them are going to go from the bottom upwards. Obviously you can't get another one over the top. So we're going to go from the bottom upwards. And I'll try and get this one in shot this time so you can see the glue. So bring it up, and you want it to be roughly a centimetre or a little bit more. You can kind of judge it. You might want a little bit of the stem showing between the flowers, but round about a centimetre, just over a centimetre between the flowers. So get it in position, and then your glue, you're going to apply glue as close as you can to the middle. I'm just spinning it round so that the glue is around the stem, and there's just a couple of little bits of dried glue on the edge there. I can deal with that. And then bring the petals up together and just hold them in place for a few seconds. That's all it takes while the glue dries. Always get these little threads, little glue strings. You just pull them off. There we go. And then you can tease out the petals a little bit. So there's two. And then the next one again, thread it from the bottom. There's a little bit of glue there. I'm just going to use these scissors just to snip that away. And then the glue around the middle, around the stem. If you can move the glue gun away quickly, I mean, you still get those little glue strings, but they're not quite as thick. If you move it away quickly, the glue strings are much finer and they're much easier to get rid of. And then just bring up all of the felt and hold it in place. And I am sorry to say that it's kind of inevitable that you're going to get a bit of glue on your fingers with this one. So I apologise about that. But please don't burn yourselves. Give it a good squeeze around the base. So there's 3. And keep going. Doesn't matter if the glue's a little bit messy because it's mostly hidden inside. Well, it should all be hidden inside. So bring all of the petals up. Oh, Sue, did you really have a blister? That's not good. Was that from the glue or was it from the end of the glue gun? It sounds painful. And I hope it was worth it. The cherry blossom that you've made, all of you who have made cherry blossom, it all looks fantastic. So there we have 4. the glue. Yeah, it does. It is really hot actually, and you do get glue guns that are low temperature. I think I've spoken about this before. You get low temperature glue guns, which definitely have their uses. And you might, if your glue gun's quite hot, you might want to try a low temperature one if you're prone to burning yourself. I just personally, I find that the glue on a low temperature glue gun, it just dries too quickly. And when you're making things like this and you need to move quite quickly, you don't really get enough of a chance with the low temperature ones. Here we are. And 2 more. Now you could do something really lovely with the lavender stems, and you could thread them onto a wreath, in which case you wouldn't need to use the whole length of one stem. So you could cut your stems in half and just use a half a stem per lavender. So I'm talking about cutting your floristry stems in half before you start. And you could, for putting them onto a wreath, you could actually use a finer gauge of floristry stem, so that you're able to wrap them around the wreath and keep it all nice and tight. And the last one, so up from the bottom. And again, I'm just reading your comment, Cheryl, about your glue gun keeping on running after the first squeeze. So that's a little bit odd, isn't it? It sounds as if the trigger's maybe stuck. I haven't had that happen. But you might want to check and see if the trigger's stuck in there. So with a glue gun, it's a good question, Cheryl. You can control the amount of glue that comes out by how hard you squeeze. So let's just, and of course there's different brands of glue guns, so I'm just showing you this one. So if you just squeeze it very gently, you will just get a small amount of glue coming out, and you can sort of move it so that you get this kind of thin line of glue. If you squeeze it, if you fully press the trigger right in, you will get a lot more glue coming out. But then you'll need to give it another squeeze to get more glue. Whereas if you just squeeze it gently and keep it sort of squeezed in halfway, you'll be able to sort of make more of a continuous line of glue, if that makes sense. So a full squeeze of the trigger gives you this big dot of glue, and then just a kind of gentle halfway squeeze allows you just to have this sort of thinner line, thinner continuous line, like that. I hope that's helpful. You can see how the glue is kind of gone yellow, and that's because it's quite hot. And just pop another glue stick in there. Let's get rid of that. Here we are. So, that's useful to know. Hobbycraft do a cool melt glue gun and a mat for keeping it on as well. Yeah, so a mat is a really good idea. And actually, this vinyl that I'm working on, so you see this kind of wooden background. It's not actually wooden, it's made of vinyl. And where I keep my glue gun in the corner here, it's gone a bit wrinkly because it's been affected by the heat. So if you've got a mat to keep it on, it's a good idea. And usually glue guns have a stand so that you can stand it up, and it shouldn't be in contact with your surface, but the whole thing gets quite warm. So Okay, we have a stem of lavender. And now we want to add some leaves to it. So lavender has a couple of small leaves that come out just at the base of the flowers here, and then they have some larger leaves a little bit further down. So we're going to add the small leaves first of all, and you can see they've stayed kind of curled up there, so we can now unfurl them. There's two different colours. Oh, Heather, that's a good idea. Heather says keep ours in an old biscuit tin and then use the lid to rest it in. That's what a great idea. That's why I love this community, all sharing all our ideas. Okay, so to attach your leaves, your small leaves, what you want to do, both ends are the same. Just a little bit of glue. You don't want a great big dot of glue on the end there, a little bit of glue, and then just pop it at the base and give it a good squeeze and just hold it there while the glue dries. And then I'm just going to trim away this dried glue that's popped out. And then the other one on the other side, a little bit of glue on the end. And this leaf is going onto the opposite side. So it's going to kind of curl around the first one that you've put on. And just hold it in place. We'll all have really tough fingers from holding melted glue. And then again, any little bits of glue that have kind of come out and dried, you should be able to get in there with your scissors and just snip them away. If you want to, you can take a little bit of your floristry tape and just wrap a little bit around the base there, and that'll just cover up any little bits of glue and keep everything in. I mean, it's all very nice and secure there, but if you just wanted to cover up these little bits here, you could wrap a little bit of floristry tape around the glue there. And then your larger leaves, again, a bit of glue, and then just choose a place. So I'm just going to go in about halfway between the small leaves and the bottom of the stem. And then just wrap it round. Take my scissors and trim this. And then the light one. No, I definitely wouldn't use a plastic container to keep you. Well, it'd be all right to keep your glue gun in when it's switched off, but I don't think I would rest my glue gun on a plastic container. It might not be the best idea. And this last leaf, glue in the bottom. And then just wrap it round. Oops. There we are. You want it sort of so that they're roughly kind of opposite each other. Can you hear the clock? That's Jessie. And Jessie's the name of the bell, actually. There we are. So your two small leaves at the base of the lavender, and then the two larger ones a little bit further down. And then you can give the whole stem a little bit of a bend just to give it a more natural look. And there we go. So I hope I wasn't too speedy for you. And yeah, Rebecca, I hope I've got that right, Rebecca. I'm pretty sure that Jessie is the name of the bell and not the actual clock, because it's a church, and the church isn't called Jessie. I'm pretty sure it's the bell. And yeah, it is romantic. And actually, I know the people who live in there, and they look after the bell. And the cupboard that you go, or the room that you go into, that's got the stairs in it to climb up to the bell tower, has got all sorts of graffiti on the walls from like years and years ago. Like, you know, it's really lovely, and it's all protected as well. I think they're going to put a sheet of perspex over it. There. Okay. So hope you had lots of fun. As I say, these would look lovely. Let's get rid of this. These would look lovely on a wreath, or tied up with some rustic twine or some ribbon. What a lovely gift to give somebody. You could hang them up in your kitchen. I hope you've had loads of fun, and looking forward to seeing all of your lavender in our Facebook group. I look a little bit like Dame Edna tonight, actually. It's these glasses. Look, this. There we are. Dame Edna, she was a character, or he was. Great. Okay, take care, everybody, and have a lovely weekend. See you in the Facebook group. Bye-bye.